Hi.
Hola.
Oh my goodness.
What a day. What a week.
Right.
What a holy
Right.
crow, everything.
I decorated the wall behind us. We're in a different spot.
I'm so impressed. So we are attempting to change the store layout, and we picked a totally wicked awesome time to try to do that.
Yes.
So otherwise known as not so smart. We are hello to all of you all the way over from cold Western Washington.
It's kind of nippy here too.
Yeah,
if that makes you feel any better.
It's not a great weather option here. But yeah, so and we are attempting to get the classroom back. So that is fantastic news. But in the process, of course, we have to set a bomb off because everything has to go. So
we had a plan.
We did.
The plan was not to bring this stuff back into the store from the show until we rearranged the store. That was Gene's plan. But Gene changed his mind.
He did.
He brought all the stuff in. And then
it was really helpful because it was all done, which is great. But then, of course.
So we decided to move the store around while we're putting the stuff away and trying to figure out what happened at the show. And then Hayden is also on vacation.
Yeah, he planned that really well.
We did not plan this very well.
But it was really great seeing all of you who came and stopped and said hello.
Yes.
Thank you for stopping. It was great to have a face to put to some of the names that have popped up. So we got a chance to actually meet some of you. So Michelle, you're in Florida. I want to be in Florida.
Me too. Let's go.
We can do this from there. Check you later. We'll pick back up in a few days when we're out in Florida. So so because of Novi, we had it was a crazy weekend.
It was.
But a lot of you went home with new machines, which is exactly what we went there for. So that was fantastic. But we figured back to the basics might be a really great idea. So maybe we should cover some basic threading, what to do and what not to do with those wonderful never miss needle threaders. Let's make sure they actually never miss. So we're going to give you some little tips and tricks on those needle threaders and how to it was just crazy. So
yeah, I think we would consider the show. I don't know how everybody else felt, but
I don't know.
A success for us.
It was we did have
we set our
expectations pretty low because we knew that there weren't going to be a ton of vendors there, and the vendor list was actually posted. So, if you looked it up, I'm really glad you guys didn't look it up. But if you looked it up, you might have been like, yeah, I'm not going to go. So we were a little concerned that we wouldn't have the bodies there. But because of where we were positioned, we had like 20 minutes after the doors opened before we got really busy. But once we got busy, we stayed busy, and it was crazy the whole day. So again, thank you to all of you who came out and supported us while we were there. We really appreciated it. And we're going to help you guys get the basics for those machines. And
if we were busy and you didn't stop,
we certainly
sorry.
Understand. Sorry. It was crazy. And I know that there are a few, I've left messages for a couple of people. I've left a couple of them. I never got a chance to get back to some people, and I've left a few messages. So hopefully you guys didn't get mad at me. It was kind of a crazy. So thank you again to all of you for coming out, and hopefully you found some fun things there. There were a few you had to look, but there were some fun things there, not just in our booth. We of course had tons of fun things in our booth, but the ladies next to us were a lot of fun. So we had a good time with them, and they had some cool stuff. I've got mine set up. I've got my LED lit cutting mat, and so maybe I can see a little better. It's all about what you can see, right?
It is all about what you can see. Yes.
So how's that working for you, by the way?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Yeah, I got my first grown-up glasses here, guys. I'm old now. Yep. My arms are no longer long enough to support my vision.
It's a problem.
I told you this was going to be interesting to see if it worked. Okay. So,
Deep
sorry.
calming breath. I was like, oh crap, there it just
goes.
went.
Yes, but it was still on. So if we disappeared for a minute.
So sorry.
Sorry.
All right.
Yes.
So we have some pretty coral thread. Hopefully you'll be able to see that when we get there. We can start with this little guy down here. So you want to swap camera boxes, we can get started, or did you want to talk about some other stuff first?
You're doing all the talking.
All right, so the first thing that I'm going to do, because, you know, I haven't talked enough. Hang on, let me get a drink. Hang on. Let's wet the whistle. All right, so first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take the foot off just so that you guys can see a little better. It certainly is not a requirement for doing this. It's just going to help.
Yes.
All right, so it's more for your viewing pleasure than anything else. All right. But wicked awesome on this machine is this little lever that's just out of camera view. You can kind of see a little bit right here. And when I flip that, my needle plate pops off.
Yes.
And how
So,
wonderful is that?
If you don't have the super fancy machine, once you get your screws off, yours is going to look similar.
Yep.
So, don't think this isn't how yours looks. It just
yours
might
wouldn't
come
look
off a
like
little bit
this.
different.
So if you don't have this, you would have a gray plastic L-shaped piece, because L is for Leabu and L is for Lisa.
I guess I'm stuck.
S is for stuck.
Yeah. I'm out.
She's out of this
Feeling
scenario.
left out.
You're the one that said I had to do the talking, so
No,
therefore
I
this
said
is
you
named
were doing the talking.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just gonna not say anything now. Feelings are hurt.
Oh, don't feel bad.
Boo hoo.
Yes.
All right. So go ahead.
No, you were doing such a good job. I just want them to know that they can, it doesn't matter if their throat plate doesn't look like this. Once you get your plate off, it should look very similar.
Absolutely. So only the Luminaire and the Slars have that beautiful lever pop off plate. Everybody else's is going to look, it's going to be a light gray plastic piece that fits this section here. And you're just going to push that towards you and that'll pop right off. And then you have little screws to take off the needle plate.
Does that one work that way?
So
we might be able to.
Probably does.
Yeah. So we'll show that in a few minutes.
We'll show that in a few minutes. Right now, we've got a little machine over there that we can show you that.
We have to bypass.
But we got to rearrange some things before I can reach it. So this one here is, again, it's just that one piece pop off, but you would have those two screws there. I love this because it makes it so I actually clean my machine every time I sit down before I start sewing. So it literally is.
It's a good habit.
It's a very good habit. So even if you can't take the whole thing off, if you take that part off and just get that bobbin case area cleaned out, your machine is going to run much smoother in the big picture and for longevity if you are taking care of it. So that is by far going to be a wonderful thing. So we're going to pop that off again real quick. So what do I mean by cleaning that out and how to take care of it? So here is my beautiful little bobbin. I'm going to take that out. And now we all are going to have this little bobbin case. Now, most of us are going to have a needle plate that's still covering this whole section on our daily pieces. So unless we have a mess going on, we're not going to take that needle plate off. We're just lucky. So in here, we need to pop that little guy out. And you can see it comes out super easy. We're actually fairly clean. I have a little stray thread over here. And I've got a little bit of fuzz back here. So basically,
it's too bad we didn't bring any tools.
That would have been super smart and very planning ahead-ish.
Why don't you talk and I'll go
You want to go find some of those? So when so when you are cleaning this out, what you want to do is look for fuzz. And what we want to be is the fuzz busters, right? We want to make sure that we aren't having a buildup of anything. So you're going to clean out that area. And I don't have a lot in there, but you can even see just a little bit of fuzz. So if I am doing this on a regular basis, then I don't get a buildup. And that's certainly going to help you. Again, that bobbin case is going to circulate and spin smoothly without a mess. and you can keep that nice and clean. So that is going to be step number one, is we're going to clean that out. You can use Q-tips. That's actually what Tony uses. He also uses, she brought tweezers. Look at that. She's such a smart cookie. So my favorite type of tweezers are these precision tips. They have a beautiful angle on them. They get like everywhere. So I can reach right in there and pull out that little piece of thread that you guys couldn't even see that are in there. And then you have brushes that came with your machine, or you can use those Q-tips. Like I said, they kind of grab hold of all that fuzz. So this is a really great little kit. And they're not expensive if you don't have anything that you really prefer to use. And they come in a little box that says "so clean." It's only $8.95, and you get a couple different brush tips in there.
One.
And then you also get a little microfiber cleaner for the screen. So you can take your brushes and swish that around. This long one can get, you know, into other places that maybe the little tiny one with the harder plastic tip can't quite get to. But clean out and see, it was bound to happen.
Mm-hmm. But you can find, even
Caitlin,
when you think your machine is pretty clean.
So look at all of that was in those feed dogs. There's a whole bunch. Can you zoom in on that? There was a whole bunch in those feed dogs.
Now we're too close.
Woo! Hello.
There we go.
So just brushing all of the fuzz. And then again, I can use my tweezers or whatnot to get that out. So cleaning up after you've sewn is super important. I mean, look at that big old clump. That was all in our feed dog system.
And it looked pretty clean.
And it did look pretty clean. I wouldn't have guessed there was that. I could see there was a little back there, but I didn't think they were that dirty, to be honest. I'm a little surprised by that. And then you can circulate and get, look at all of that.
Yeah.
So keeping those brush tips and getting in those little positions are great. Now, you want to talk about oil? Do you think they should oil?
You know, I think that's kind of like, I think it's a good habit to get into if you're comfortable doing it. I do think it significantly makes the noise of the machine less. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And if you are an oiler and you start, you will start noticing when, oh, I haven't oiled in a little while. You become much more attuned to the noise. If you haven't oiled it more recently. So, yeah, Diane says she loves that little kit. The last time we talked about this, we showed that kit as well. It's really great. Those brushes, ones, the shorter ones, the brush bristles are a little bit stiffer so that they brush a little. Child. But it's just a lot easier. You know, it's easier to get something out, and then you can use your tweezers or whatever to pick up those pieces. Or like I said, the Q-tip, which Tony endorses. So
yeah. But if you're a little bit more, maybe you're trying to use materials that fill the landfill less. Since the brushes aren't disposable, you can clean them.
Absolutely.
And use those
Dad.
As well. Hi, Dad.
I didn't say hi to my mom. I saw her name up there. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Lisa's mom. Sorry. But yeah, so it's just and I think this is a really nice gift. Like if you have quilty people or sewy people in your life,
it's just a little something that everybody actually needs, and they may not have.
Yeah. You can't have
cute little something.
No, it's a good little a gift to exchange, and it comes in a couple of different colors. I do try to keep all of the colors here.
They're not always available.
No, and today we got in like 8 stilettos that have been in order since January.
There are a lot of things like that have been on order for a really long time, and then we're like, we get them in, and we're like, when did we order those?
Yeah.
Or we order them 12 times, so we get
at 3 different places,
bunch of them in. So yeah, lots of fun. Okay, so cleaning out the fuzz, very, very important. Also important is to leave the fuzz that is here, which is your knife, which if you're your needle plate is on, you're probably not going to see that quite as easily as if you can see it right here.
Let's talk about the scissor button, the knife.
Okay.
A lot of people don't realize that it's over there and that they should be kind of making sure that that spot is clean.
Yep. So it's
oh, show where the oil goes.
Oh, sure.
Yes.
That's a great tip. We'll get there in just half a second. So this little doodad right here is the actual knife. And when it works, it doesn't actually cut over here. It shoots out and comes out underneath and cuts the thread and then recesses back over here. And it uses the felt pieces to clean itself of stuff.
I think if we hit the scissor button, it will work. We don't have the plate on, so
no, I don't think.
Sensor?
That's a Tony question. There's a couple.
Nope,
not that one.
That's it. There we go.
So now you're going to shove a knife towards my finger?
I am. There you go.
So this little guy right here shoots out. And that's what cuts your thread. So there's a blade underneath that. And you notice that the top needle, because there's one underneath. You know, that one up here instead of the one down here.
Exactly.
The needle comes down so that your top thread is what my brain was trying to say. It comes down so that both threads are below the feed dogs so that that knife that's down here has access. So that is where that comes over and it cuts. Sometimes what happens is it cuts, but it gets a frayed piece and it gets stuck in there. So if you've ever had your if you've ever had your knife not cut and it's just dragging threads, you probably have a little piece of something stuck in there. It's probably not that your knife isn't working. It's probably that you don't have
there was a little piece of something hanging from there.
As I say, it's probably that there's something stuck in there, and it's usually very easy to see. It's a big piece of thread
if you know where to look.
If you know where to look, which now you all do.
That's right.
So I'm going to let go of that, and it's going to beep at us again. That is where that knife comes, and you want to make sure that there's no straggly threads hanging out down here. So that's a really great point. So oil.
Right in there.
Right in there.
Yep. So
and don't put a ton in there.
No, like on the metal part over here, it could be anywhere in
anywhere
here,
in there, but just a drop.
Just a little drop.
So we have the long,
because this is
kind
of right, and it's gonna sit in this little chamber, and then they're gonna rub that kind of cushions it, which creates less noise.
And so what happens is when you put that drop anywhere in there, as it spins around, it moves the oil around everywhere else. And so it lubricates that entire area. So you don't need to put oil all over the place. What'll end up is you're going to have oil all over the place.
Just one drop.
Oh, I was like, shh.
Yeah. It's a secret. Just one drop.
What are we doing? Yeah, just one drop. So
we're spilling the beans.
We are spilling the beans. We're good at that though.
There are no secrets here.
Why stop now? So very important. Let's just put that little drop in there. You are not required to do this. All right. So if you are not comfortable doing so, or you don't have any machine oil, please, whatever you do not grab your bottle of WD-40. That is not what you want to put in here. You're only going to want to put in sewing machine oil. It's clear. You can pick up a bottle here for like $4. And it'll last you forever. And it's also got this really long telescopic tool, so you can get it right where you want it to go, and you can watch the oil go down the tube. So you can really control it. Machine oil only. Very, very important.
Don't go to the kitchen cabinet. No,
don't go to the garage.
Nope,
none of that stuff.
No,
just the machine oil is the only thing in there. So once we have that, we don't want
anybody saying somebody said go to the cabinet and get our oil.
Oh no, do not do that. So you have that knife felt, and then you also have your felt piece that is on your bobbin case right there. So super important. You like how I have 3 hands there? Isn't that awesome? So you want to keep that there. We actually have sometimes had customers take that off because they thought it was fuzz from fabric and things. You don't want to take that off. You'll end up having to come in and buy a new bobbin case. So make sure you leave that little guy on, and the little guy that's right there on your knife, you want to leave those felt pieces in there. How do you oil a 10 needle PR? So you're going to do the same thing in your bobbin where you put the bobbin case in. You're going to put 1 drop before you put your bobbin in there.
The bobbin case.
The bobbin case.
You've
1
got
little
that,
drop.
Yeah, the rotary hook sort of. Yours is
vertical.
This is flat, so
yours is going to be up this direction, but of course it's all metal.
Yeah, but it'll go
and
like
it's
in
gonna
that
just
same
go in that
spot.
same little spot. 1 drop on the side, and
Yep.
as that case spins around, it'll push it everywhere it needs to go.
Yeah.
If you over oil, you will see it in your project. So don't over oil.
Right. Can the bobbin threader break the sewing thread?
Not usually.
No.
Nope. You'd be very talented. If you figure out how to make that happen, let us know, because that would be a wicked trick.
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
But no, you can, hey. One of these days we'll get you your machine, Lori. The other machines, so like an older Singer is going to have that front loading bobbin as well. So it's going to be probably that metal. It's going to look much more similar to the 10 needles bobbin case than the more recent ones, depending upon your Singer sewing machine. It might look more like the one that we'll show in a few minutes.
Yeah, I was going to say, when we get over there, we could probably grab the zest to show.
Maybe when I move this one, I can swap that over there as well, and you can see what that would look like. But those front loading, so it's a vertical versus a drop in, they look a little bit different, but those are generally all metal versus the plastic case that goes in. So when you are putting in the plastic case, you're going to do the same thing. If you have taken off your needle plate, you need to put that on in the other machines first. It's extremely important. If you put in your bobbin case first and then put on the screw-in needle plates, you're going to have tons of problems. It's just, it's going to cause a whole list of problems, because what happens is it actually pinches the bobbin case and then it can't spin properly. So you want to always, if you have taken off that back needle plate, again, the screw-in ones, this one's different because it all comes off in one piece. But if you've unscrewed your needle plate, the big metal piece there, and you are cleaning this out, you need to put that back on before we put this piece back in. Extremely important. Or you will be calling us because you're going to have some problems. And then we'll tell you that again.
We'll show you that in a few minutes.
Yeah, we absolutely will. So in this guy here, you need to kind of come in and go at an angle because of the little bar here, and we got to go underneath. And you just want to wiggle a little bit. So there's a song that sings that, but I won't torture you. Wiggle it just a little bit. What was that, 90s? Yeah, somewhere in there. All right. And what we're looking for is the straight line. What did I just hit? I hit the buttons again.
Yeah, now we find them.
Now I found them, and now they're going to go off constantly. So the straight line that comes off this here is extended in the bobbin case. So that's kind of a visual line there that extends, that you can see that you've got that in the right spot. And there's a white arrow that will point to the white dot right here. I know you can't see the white arrow, it's a little bit lower, but the white dot that's right here, there's a little white arrow that is embossed onto the bobbin, the circular bobbin case.
There's that straight line.
So there's the arrow right there, and it's going to point to that. And that line is going to extend across here. If your needle plate is on, that lines up right with the edge of the needle plate.
Woo! Sorry, guys.
Hello.
There we go.
All right. So that line is a really good visual. You don't want it going at an angle because you know you've got it in wrong if you have it at an angle. So make sure that that straight line is matched up with your needle plate and this metal piece right here if you've got this machine in particular. All right. So then once we've got that all cleaned out, we're going to put this on and we are going to replace our bobbin. So got anything you want to add?
Nope, that's about it.
All right. So bobbins. Again, we are talking the drop-in bobbins style. We've got our tail that's going to come off the left-hand side, If you pull that down, it's going to look like the letter P. And if it looks like the P, it will give you perfect stitches. So we're going to drop that in, and we're going to go right behind. You guys can actually see that really well right there. There's this little notch right here. That's where your thread is going to go, and it will feed into that case underneath. So we're going to go underneath and then up and around. My hand's going to block it. I'm so sorry. I can't make that out of the way. So up and around here, and then there's a cutter right there, and that will get rid of that. And that is all we have to do for our bobbin.
I just want to point one thing. It goes in this one really easy. They doesn't slide into that little the first little nook that you can't see under here as easy with every machine. My recommendation before you cut your thread, once you drop that in is as
Pull
you're
a little.
Yeah, so when you get up to this point here, give your bobbin a little bit of a tug. If you do, that's going to help seat that in that position and then come around. You are going to waste a little bit of thread, but I promise you this is a lot less thread than you would waste.
Than a whole bunch in a project that didn't have it in there.
Yeah, if it didn't get in there. So like I said, this one, you probably don't have to do that for this because they do slide in easier, but not all models slide in that easy. Some of them, they don't clip in to that little guide at first. And that is a giant pain in the butt when you're bobbing.
Well, and there's also something to be said for if it slides in really easy, it can slide out really easy. So you want to make sure that it's in there, not just kind of cruising along the top too. Right. So you want to make sure that it's in there nice and good, tight, whatever word you want to use.
Yeah.
I can come up with some weird something, but we're just not going to. So, and then we're just going to snap this little guy on. These are not machine interchangeable, FYI. They do fit the different plates differently. So just little note, we've gotten that question here and there as well. So that is cleaning out underneath, cleaning out that bobbin case and inserting the bobbin. So hopefully that is all pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else to add down there. Pretty much every machine we sell, except for our baseline mechanicals, will automatically pick up the bobbin thread for you. That doesn't mean that you can't pick up the bobbin thread if you would like it to come up, if you're doing something that you don't want that messy knot on the back or something, but you don't have to if you don't want it. The machine will take care of that for you if you would like to let it.
Yes, you can.
All right.
And if you don't know how to pull up your bobbin thread, if you've never done that before, or you're having some issues doing that, most of our machines, with the exception of our mechanical machines, have a needle stop up and a needle stop down button. So that will, do that. So you can actually use that button. If you tap that button and you put your needle down, and then you tap the button and pull it again, you will, if you don't have a foot or anything underneath there, you will actually see your string
get
wrap
pulled across,
and then that'll pull it up there. So you can also turn your hand wheel. I hear people say all the time, I shouldn't turn my hand wheel. You aren't going to hurt the machine. Well, you aren't going to hurt any of the machines that I've ever worked with. So
I mean, it certainly is most of the time recommended to turn it towards you, but even if you turn it the other way, you're still not going to blow it up.
Right. I mean, that's what
it's
happens.
Just a matter of stitching forward and stitching backwards.
Yeah.
But you know, if you're looking to go forward, that would be towards you. But you know, that's just old wives' tale. That's not really a problem.
What should you do if the bobbin keeps hanging up and building up in the case? You probably have the wrong bobbin in.
That would be my guess as well.
If it's
so it's not the right
height it's slightly skewed, or it got hot, or it got cold and it expanded. So
there's a lot of bobbins that look really close to the right one for your machine that aren't actually the right one.
Yeah.
And they're very picky. They will not work correctly if it's not the right one in there.
I don't really recommend aftermarket bobbins for any brand of machine, not just our version. Every brand of machine that I've ever worked with, your bobbins that you purchase from the manufacturer, they're going to have a certain weight to them, and they're going to have certain specs to them, and they are going to give you the best stitch out, most consistent stitch out. But your bobbins they can go bad. I've seen plastic bobbins wound on the bobbin winder with
Just
like
snap.
Right. Well, and like with certain thread, some thread is a little bit stretchier, and I've seen them actually distort the bobbin. So I once got my bobbin stuck on mine because I had used the invisible thread. And it's kind of like it just got tighter and tighter and tighter, and I literally had to like unwind half of the bobbin in order to get it off because it had gotten so tight on there. So plastic does have a little bit of give.
Right.
So I would recommend trying a different bobbin and making sure that you don't have anything stuck in your bobbin case if you are having that specific problem. The other thing that happens is, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute, sometimes it's not the actual bobbin thread that's getting jammed up, it's your upper thread. So if you don't put your thread in the take-up lever, then it all sucks down into the bobbin case. And there can be a multitude of reasons for that to happen. The number one common problem is that you miss the take-up lever. And the number two problem is the check spring that is in your machine is sprung.
Yep, it somehow got bent. You pulled too hard at some point when you had a jam or something, and so it got out of position so that the thread is not actually in the check spring. And so that's the one that on our electronic machines, we generally, it'll stitch 5 stitches and then tell you to check your upper thread. So if the check spring is your problem, that is most commonly how you will know that is it stitches 5 to 10 stitches and then stops and says, check and rethread your upper thread. And then does it again and again.
And if you're sewing on something that might be a little bit older and maybe isn't as smart as ours, that does put some tension on your thread. So that could be a cause of getting the thread balled up inside of there. So it really just depends on the actual machine that you're using.
Of course.
But yeah, anytime, and I know Lisa and we say this a lot on the phone. If you're having difficulty with any part of your machine, if you get a jam here, you should rethread this, and you should rethread your upper thread as well. Don't
assume you know whether it's the top or the bottom.
Right.
Rethread both the top thread and reseat your bobbin to make sure that it's not either one of them, because if you only fix one of them,
right, one could have caused
the other, or a combination of 2 different things. So just try to offset any additional reoccurrences and make sure that is not wanting to go over there.
It doesn't want to do what I want it to do. There we go. All right. Apparently I'm a lefty who can't use her mouse with her left hand. Oh yeah, if you guys could only see what's going on back here. All right. So that's an important part of is anytime you're having difficulty with either your upper thread or your lower thread, you should rethread both just to make sure that everything is going correctly. Yeah. So I'm going to switch to the different camera here, I think.
That's 3. Dun, da, da, da.
Ta-da!
Look at that.
All right, let's see if I can move this over here now. Okay.
All right. So this is the luminaire that we are sitting in front of. It's nice and big so you guys can see what's happening. That was kind of the thought process, is there's plenty of room.
Yes.
So
this part here is the part that Lisa and I were just talking about. So here is where your take-up lever is going to be on this machine, and it's in this spot on just about all machines, basically.
Yep.
And the check spring is typically down in this part here. It is usually in the spot that you lead up to your take-up lever. And I find that, so it happens more to embroiderers. than it does to sewers. And that is because you are changing your thread
all the time.
That's right. So, I mean, you could pull your thread out of your machine 100 times in one sitting. Whereas if you are quilting or sewing,
you might not change your thread for days or weeks.
Exactly. I mean,
Right.
I have had sometimes, you know, because I have more than one spool of the same thread, not unthreaded that.
And wound your bobbin and
for
whatever else.
for
Right.
an entire project.
Yep.
So, while I would say that out of all of the brands of machines that I've worked with, the Brother brand is the least finicky here.
Yeah.
It still happens. So,
absolutely. And you know what, when we find people have more problems is not necessarily that the jam happens here. The jam might happen somewhere else, but when you're tugging and pulling to get that jam out is when you cause the problem with the check spring itself.
Exactly. And you know, when your thread breaks or it shreds and you've got those little like grizzly pieces on the ends and it's fuzzy, and then you pull that backwards in your machine, it can get hung up
so easily,
or it can leave lint behind, and the accumulation of that can cause a problem. So it is important to pay attention at that point. I always tell people, it's okay to pull your thread back, but you should pull your thread back gently.
Yes.
And only if your thread hasn't broken.
Right.
If your thread has broken, cut it up here and find the missing piece wherever it is and pull it out. Don't pull it backwards. You will be less likely
to cause an interior problem because of those little pieces of thread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our Brother and Baby Lock machines are, they're very smart. They don't let you, well, I shouldn't say they don't let you. They make it difficult for you to thread your machine. But if you don't know
incorrectly, they make it difficult for you to thread your machine incorrectly.
Yeah. And I think you guys, if you look right here on the machine here, I think you're going to see what happens when we put the foot down. I'm like, nothing happened.
It was sleeping.
So if you look right here, there is now, like, I call it a gate. So pay attention to this little piece right here. When I have my finger here and you touch the button for me.
What am I touching?
Foot up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So the gate goes away.
Yep. So you can see where I'm like,
napping.
Now I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
You can see that little white piece that's moving there. That is what we're talking about. And so basically that's the machine's way of telling you, hey, wait a minute, your foot's down.
Yes.
So if you get to that point while you're threading and you hit that little bar that's in the way, you need to back up and rethread. And you don't just need to raise the foot and then thread that. You need to back up to over here because you've already missed the part that's going to matter. Right. You've already missed that most likely.
And the reason that this is so important is because when the foot is up, the discs in the machine that apply tension to your thread, they're open. And it's like we're cheerleaders over here.
And we both do the exact same thing. It's like land.
That's right. And when you put your foot down, they go.
Go, Brother. Go, Baby Lock. Okay, sorry.
Oh, we have had
not enough sleep and
going on.
I don't know what.
And make sure every brand of machine,
doesn't matter what brand, really
needs to be threaded with the foot up. So you can put the foot down if you need to use it for your needle threader once you are past
that section.
Point.
Yep.
But it needs to be up before that. That is the number one cause of the thread. Yes. And when that happens, when there's no tension up here, you got a bird's nest down here.
Underneath.
Yes.
Yep. So that's kind of like the law of opposites. People will automatically assume it's a bobbin issue because it's the issue because the mess is underneath their fabric. They think, oh, I got to rethread my bobbin. It's kind of a law of opposites. If your mess is underneath, your mess is up here.
I know, it's so weird, right?
I'm on the wrong side. I don't know what hand to use anymore.
We had to move sides. Hi.
So, hey, so if that problem is underneath, it's your top thread causing an issue, you need to worry about what's going on up top. And if it is on top, then you're looking underneath because you've lost bobbin tension or whatever that happens to be.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of messes with our brains a little bit as to, the logical answer, but it's the opposite piece.
Yep.
So that little door is going to not let you get in to that take-up lever. So if you keep going, you're going to have a whole slew of problems. And
She's
you're gonna
not
have a
wrong.
really big mess underneath.
Mm-hmm.
Bye now.
Bye now.
It's okay. Do you
okay.
want to add? We're talking about things you shouldn't do.
I mean, everything so that they don't have to come see you or call you to fix it. You want to add anything in there?
No? You
No?
sure?
We're doing great? Okay. He says everything we've said is exactly what he would have said.
Yep.
It's totally what he just said.
Tony approved.
It's
like- It's like Frosted Flakes. You were
They're
great.
great. Okay. So let's talk actual threading.
Yes.
So one of the things that I really like is the simplicity of the thread path and that it's literally imprinted right on the machine. So the solid line is going to show you where to go to thread your needle, and the dotted lines are going to tell you what you need to do to wind a bobbin. So very easy. That is pretty consistent on all of the machines. That's not going to change.
It's very important if your
it's-
machine tells you where to go.
It is. It's great, and every once in a while I let somebody tell me what to do. Maybe I might tell them off quietly in my head, but every once in a while I let that happen. So very simply, we are just going to follow that solid line. So again, we want to make sure that this is open. Our foot is up. Actually, it's off, but it is up. So the first thing that we're going to do is go underneath the metal bar on this one here. And this is this is exactly the same thread path for all of our machines that are
Electronic, really.
electronic. Yeah. I mean, they all have this all the way, the 6x10 machines, all of these.
Yeah, it's really just
all
the
of
needle
those.
threader part.
The needle threader is going to change, but this
The
portion
button.
right here is going to be the same.
Mhm.
So do you want me to elbow you in the face, or would you like to
I
do
can
that
do it.
part?
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're going to
I
literally
know.
have meat right in your
It's
face.
so nice that you have so many arms, though, isn't it?
It is phenomenal.
Look.
And I'm wearing 2 different shirts and my nails
And
are painted 2 different colors.
All right.
Teamwork.
So it's important that we go underneath the number 1, and it's labeled very clearly for us. And so Lisa is holding on to the thread with that, with her hand. That helps to make sure that the thread just doesn't keep unspooling off of your thread. It isn't a requirement to hold it, but it does. I do need just a smidge more thread. There we go.
It's just a Lisa requirement. I like to have tension on the thread. I don't like to have
Sloppy thread.
sloppy thread when I'm threading,
Mhm.
especially when I get down to that number 6 because it's like super
It's hard.
annoying.
Yeah. So here we have our number 4, and this is the part of the machine that's where our take up lever is. So I always tell people it's kind of like an exaggerated like N or a U here. So you're going to want to make sure that you kind of follow the groove of the
Follow
opening.
the whole body of the machine there.
Yeah, and it kind of like the number 4 arrow swings around to indicate it because there's a little guard in there, and it's kind of like a
It's a little
hook.
Yep.
And then
And you really do want that to be exaggerated, which is
Mhm.
why that arrow goes way out. You want it to be exaggerated. If you just go like this, you're not
gonna get it.
You're not going to get it.
Yep. And then we're going to come down, and we're going to be down at the bottom, and I can swing back over to this one. You can't see my number 6 guide right here, but I'm in the number 6 guide. And then this guy right here is my needle threader. You will be able to see the needle threader swing by. So I am just putting it in my needle threader button over here. I'm sorry, there are only so many angles of the camera that I could swing today. And then when I push this button, it pulls in and then threads our needle for us. So if you have a machine that's not quite oversized, you would have, I have a button on the front of the machine that I pushed, but you would have a lever on the side of the machine over on the side here that you would just slide down.
Yep.
And you don't have to have the foot down when you go to thread the needle.
Nope.
But sometimes it is a little bit easier. There's not a ton of space down here. So the electronic machines that have the automatic foot that goes up or down, it goes down and clears out of its weight on its own.
Yep.
The other machines, though, that is a good time to put your foot down, forcefully, of course. Yes.
Say it like you mean it. Put your foot down.
Right. It does two things. It kind of puts a little tension on the thread, but it also clears it out and makes the needle threader come down a little bit easier.
Yep.
So you don't have to do that, but that is just one of those things that if you're watching us, I think sometimes we just do it and we don't think about it. But that is one of the things that we would probably do.
And so if you are one of our newer machine purchasees, you got to push that lever with a little bit of authority.
Like you mean it.
You got to give it a little oomph. If you push it really lightly, it won't go all the way through. You got to push all the way down and give it a little oomph
Yes.
there. Don't be afraid. You won't hurt it. I promise. But you really got to give it a little oomph on that lever. So, and, you know, I really generally would recommend in lessons and whatnot, following the body of the machine is really the groove of this, you know. So when you're trying to thread into this needle threader, if you follow that body of the machine, and I know you can't see where my hand is going, it will go in the correct positions inside of that threader without you having to do anything. It literally just kind of guides its own way in all by its little lonesome. So is that going to make,
maybe,
can you see on yours what you're doing?
No, but
oh, that's this.
Yep.
It's down here.
Too far.
Dude, that's way over here. Yeah, unfortunately, it's just the angle, I think, is too high.
Yeah,
but
I tried.
It's okay. We appreciate the thought, right, guys? The threader itself has a little notch that the thread needs to go in, but if you follow the body of the machine, it will fall in there all by its little lonesome. So just keep that in mind. Follow the machine, and it will guide you where you want to be. So that is the simplicity of that thread path. And again, all of the electronic machines, that's right where they're all the same. Some of us have thread stands that come back here. If you are using the thread stand that comes in the back, that would be, well, there's quite a few actually, but you have the choice of either coming directly. Some people really like to hook in to this little guy right here. That is not a requirement. That is a personal preference. It's not going to make a difference, but some people like the lack of their thread moving all over the place. That kind of keeps it a little bit tighter to the machine body. So that's totally up to you. But of course, if you're needing to wind bobbins, then that will be in your way. So if you're trying to wind bobbins while you're embroidering, you don't want to use that because you'll need it for winding your bobbins.
What a mess that will make.
That would not be recommended at all.
Don't recommend it at all.
As a matter of fact, just flat out don't do it. It's not even a recommendation, period. Just flat out no. It's a complete sentence, right?
Right. Okay.
Just don't do that.
So we're going to swap to this machine.
Okay.
And then actually,
can I just move this?
You can actually unplug the thing at the top if you want, so it's out of your way.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there, and then I got something. I got my goal. Okay,
you stood up?
I stood up. Goal achieved.
Ta-da!
You are winning today.
Winning. Kept calling so was it Jean? He
Yeah.
kept saying that. I was like, good job, Charlie. All right. So I am actually going to tip this back a little bit so you guys can see this needle plate area. So here is that gray, the light gray piece with the metal needle plate that has the two screws. And that's the piece that we were talking about. When you
want
are,
to hold it?
I think
You got it? Okay.
Yeah. So when you are working on a machine like this piece has a little finger divot in the back, all the way back here. Can you see that? Or do I need to go farther? So right back here.
Maybe.
And basically you're just going to push that gray piece up and it comes right out and pops right off. So this is going to be your cover for that bobbin case area. And again, I'm going to drop that foot off there so we can see a little bit better. And then here is our bobbin case. So you can see, we talked about the line, how it lines up with the needle plate. That is exactly what it's doing in there. So I'm going to take that bobbin out. Holy crow, there's a lot of thread in there. And that little guy just comes right out. And nice and simple and straightforward. Clean it and then line that up and put it back in. So here, when you have a needle plate that is screwed in, like this one here, that straight line of the bobbin case is going to line up with the needle plate right there. All right, so that's what we were talking about. Once you have that cleaned up and screwed back in, again, if you took the needle plate off, that needs to go on before you put this bobbin case back in. Extremely important. Once you have that, then this just sits back here and push forward and it snaps into position. Your threading is going to be exactly the same. The cover pops off, do the letter P, follow that through, and the bobbin itself is going to be exactly like what we did on the other machine.
And the threading on the top of that one is just a smidge different. But you can clearly see the arrows to get everything lined up. So instead of it kind of being tucked into the sort of the top here, it sits on top. Lisa will show you that real quick.
My watch just said good job for standing up too. It's the simple things in life, isn't it?
It is.
All right. So this one, like we said, looks a little bit different. We have a spool cap on there because we do, because we can. I would probably put the smaller one on there personally because the edges on that one are a little bit bigger than my spool of thread itself. So I try to keep that the same size or smaller than the end of my spool. Same goes with you. Yep. So here we are, number one, and we're going to snap that in. And you can floss if you can't see what I have white thread on a white machine. So can you see that okay?
I think so, but do you want to try pink
thread?
Switch? I got pink.
We can switch. Give me just a second. I'll get that silly old. All right. Is this a little better?
It is a little better.
All right. So
I'll answer for them.
Okay. We're going to snap that in to position number one. And we have just a little plastic tab right here. We're going to go basically around and underneath. So again, we're kind of flossing underneath in there. We're not actually needing to floss. I'm just showing you where it's at. And then we're going to come straight forward. I'm going to set this down so you guys can see. That's literally it on the top, other than the take up lever, which I can turn back up if you guys can't see that. Should I do the bobbin while I'm here?
Sure.
Number 1 and 2 are the same for both the dotted line and the straight line, which means that's the same for both bobbin and needle. But if I'm going to come over here and thread my bobbin, wind my bobbin, you know, kind of what I mean, right? Do as I say, not as I do. I have this little guy right here. This is my tension, which when you are winding a bobbin is super duper important. So we have a little metal piece here that we need to go around that's going to keep it in position. And then we have the tension disc itself right here. So basically, you need to make a loop. So I'm exaggerating this so that you can see it needs to be around this piece here and then come back around here. So around the metal and then under the disc. And then I can pull that tight so you guys can see that. And then we would come over and wrap around our bobbin. So pretty straightforward. It does sometimes confuse people about what direction to go on that little metal prong. You go around it and then make kind of a loop like that. Can you see that okay with the pink?
Not too bad.
All right. So that's the direction that you would want to go with a top and the smaller piece there. Okay. So back to doing for the needle. We're going to go 1, number 2. I'm going to tip the machine so you guys can see. All right. Got stuff everywhere. There's a lot of legs going on around me. I'm going to come down. This is where that check spring is. We're going to go underneath 3 and right back up. We need to follow the body of the machine. I can always tug a little bit right here. And by tugging, I know it's in that take up if it stays in there. If I tug a little bit and it just comes falling right out, I'm not in the take up lever. So I can always tell a little bit by that little bit of a tug. Coming straight down, and then here's my number 6. So I can hook that. Maybe. This is very awkward.
It is a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, just a little bit. There we go. So there's my number 6, and I've come straight down. So here's that number 7. You can see a picture of it imprinted on to be in that notch, which, like I said, by following the body of the machine, you can see it just kind of lies itself into that notch all on its own. And then we have a cutter on the other side that we can get rid of the excess so that we just have that tail to go through. And we want to push, and you can actually see it pretty good there, how that takes and pushes that thread right in there and threads our needle. And there you go. Am I good?
You are good.
All right. So, that's really not that heavy. That was very exaggerated. All right. Here we go.
So that is the gist of the two, kind of the different styles of machines that we have. We have the like
kind of the entry level,
under $500 price point machines, all kind of thread, very similar, on sort of on top of the machine, and then everything else kind of has like, I don't know, like insets where the thread sits and things like that. And then we have the different styles of needle threaders. That's really hard to show specifically on the show here. It's kind of hard to get right in there without our hands being in the way.
So sorry.
Mm-hmm. But that's kind of like some of the routine maintenance things that you should be doing. Making sure that you're threading the machine correctly. Making sure that you have your foot up when you're threading the machine. Making sure that you have your bobbin seated. Our little tip is to put a little drop of oil in there ever so often. You know, maybe every couple bobbins. You'll kind of know if you pull everything out there and you can still see the oil. Don't put another drop in there.
Anymore. If you can see oil, you definitely don't need more.
Right. If it's dry, you can put a drop in there, and you want to do that after you clean it, not before. That just makes a bigger mess. So don't do that. And then just, you know, you should change your needle often. These are things, use a good quality thread. These are important things. It doesn't really matter how much you spent on your machine. If you put a good quality in, you are much more likely to get good quality out.
So when's the last time you changed your needle, Sarah?
I change my needle every time I start. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. At the end of the day at home, the needle comes out and it goes in the trash can. I only use it for my one day.
I know the answer to that.
And I don't always sew on the same type of material. I have taken the needle out of the machine and gone to a different machine with that needle because I was going to continue sewing over there. But at the end of the day, I have just gotten into the habit of taking the needles out and disposing of them. It does two things. It makes sure that I'm always working with a fresh needle, and it always makes sure that I have the correct needle in
for the appropriate
when I work
the appropriate for that project.
For that project, yeah. I don't sew on the same type of things all the time, so it really isn't. It is very uncommon for me to sew on the same thing more than probably 2 or 3 times in a row. I'm always kind of going through there, but when you walk through my sewing room, most of the time you will not, unless I'm actually working in the room, you won't find needles in my machine. You also oftentimes won't find bobbins in there either, because that is how I make sure that I put the correct pieces in. I used to take the bobbin case out to remind me to make sure that I put everything in there, but the cat ran off with my bobbin case once and I spent an entire day looking for it. So
my dogs are not allowed in my sewing room.
I don't do that anymore.
They don't get to come up and play with me.
Yeah.
they don't behave well enough to earn that privilege. So
yeah. I do have a large assortment of needles, and I know people are much more frugal than I am when it comes to their needles, but I
The
am.
thing is it worth the hole or the mess or the whatever that you're going to have by using that bad needle? You know, it's funny when, you know, you call up here and you say, you know, I'm shredding thread. What do I do? And the first question we ask you is, well, when's the last time you changed your needle? And you go, well, I'm sewing with the one that came in it. That's the problem, most likely.
And if you could hear your needle, if you hear your needle going in your fabric, it's like a year past time.
She's not wrong.
It should not make noise when you should not hear the clicking. If you hear that, if your machine makes a little clicking noise when you're sewing, you need a new needle. That is super important to do that. And I'm not saying that you should do it the way that I'm doing, but it is how I forced myself to make sure that I was doing that. We all have a limited amount of time, and I find that I have less time in my sewing room now than I feel like I ever did before. And so if I don't have to take the time out ripping it because the needle wasn't correct or it didn't give me a stitch that I found acceptable, then I have more time. So it's worth the $1 that I paid for that needle to
and
do that.
a lot of times less than the $1.
Yeah.
I mean, if we really look at that, especially if you're sitting in front of a machine like we're sitting in front of, this was not an inexpensive machine. Why are you fretting over a $80 to $1 or whatever needle that we're putting into it? It's just not worth it, guys. You know, put the right stuff in. Use good thread. Use the right stuff.
You will be
You will
happier.
so
in
much
the long
happier
run.
in the big picture.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And I know we're running just a smidge over today, but before we wrap up talking about this, I just want to point out we have Elisa. She was brave and she decided to do a club this month, and so her club class, embroidery club, is tomorrow, and Saturday. Saturday. Yes, not and but or. And we do have that virtual OESD event coming up. There is no Facebook sign up for that currently. I promise that I will get that either tonight or the very first thing in the morning. But
the email that went out last night should have that registration link in there. It's free. It's about last minute gifts. So it's what we're all thinking about right now anyways. So, you know, take an hour, take some me time. And come visit us. And so register for that.
And that one is Friday.
That is this Friday.
And I will have a link up on Facebook Friday morning with the actual live link. So if you didn't make it to the registration, or you can't find the email that they give you, which happens, I know we get so many emails and they get buried. Don't fret. That link will be up on the Facebook page and probably our website.
I will try to get it on there too. Yep.
So that you can click right to the event. It will not start until 11, but the link will be up
in the morning.
It will be up way before then. So if you can't find it, no worries.
No worries. And Sandra, yes, I will send out the link for class and it'll have the instructions attached to that. I just have to write them.
You have 24 or
24.
I don't think we got 48 hours this time. 24 hours to watch that from that same link. So you will be able to just click on it from Facebook or our website. And so you will have approximately till 11 or noon on Saturday to watch that.
Yep.
So not that I am proposing doing anything that might record that video, but you know. If you have an iPad or any other device, you could save that file for later.
I know what you're talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, let's not talk about it.
I mean, in all actuality, you know, the code and whatever is only live while that link is live, but the information is wonderful. It's always good information. So there's no harm.
It won't be up on our Facebook or YouTube channel because we're not allowed to do that. But
it's yours.
That's right. I don't know what you're doing.
I don't know what you're doing.
Because you're very smart. We all know you are.
Yes.
So I think that's about it.
I think that it is. Yep. And then we have the holiday workshop the first week of December. And then
we will, if you have purchased something from us last week or this week, we are not intentionally trying to ignore you. Hayden is off this week and with the Sewing Expo last week, and
we're behind.
The decision to rearrange the store and all of the paperwork from the Sewing Expo, we're running just a tad bit behind. We've seen your orders, and we promise to get to you soon. We have not forgot about you.
Hayden's our usual shipper.
Yes.
So I've got some things like ready to ship, but I'm like, how do I do that again? It's like,
Yes,
he's so good at what he does.
So your holiday workshop kits, we promise they will go out in more than enough time for you to get them for the event.
They're all ready to go. I just need to attach a shipping label and get them out of here.
In store, if you haven't already done that, they are available in store if you haven't already signed up, and we will begin shipping just as soon as we humanly possibly can. Not tonight. No. Is that it?
I think that's it.
Okay.
Thank you so much for spending your afternoon with us, and we will see you guys next time.
Let's see if I can figure out how to do this.
I feel like it's been forever, doesn't it?
It does.
This actually doesn't feel like we just did this 2 days ago.
It does not.
Bye, guys.